photos. Like.
Thanks for still being there with us on Kakaki, the African Voice. Let's find out what the papers are reporting this Monday. Lemmy Ughegbe is still with us in the studio. And also we have Nwadu, who joins us via Zoom. He's an online publisher and, as usual, joins us every Monday. Lemmy, welcome.
Good morning.
Welcome.
It was a sober weekend for Nigeria, starting on Friday and, of course, running through Saturday. And up till now, the papers are still reporting different angles to the loss of the Chief of Army Staff and the other senior officers that were with him. But let's find out what's really on the front pages.
We'll begin with the Vanguard newspaper. Of course, leading with that issue, like Utibe said, insurgency at Tahiru would have made Nigeria proud. That's coming from his predecessor, Buratai. 27 GOCs, Corps Commander, ex-Force Commander, former GOC being screened for next Chief of Army Staff appointment. Right after that story. So you find the details of that on page 5 of the paper. You also have other stories there, okay? Let's move on.
Right. Yeah. I think what Nkoli wanted to refer to was economic growth recovery at 0.51% as reported by the Vanguard. The Daily Sun, starting from the very top, open grazing ban, Northern Youth split over Malami stand. Southern Governors right and ban says Northern Youth Forum. At the bottom, we must negotiate Nigeria's unity, Cardinal Nikon.
Okay, the Nigerian Tribune also has this as its leading story. Away from the issues about the crash, it says Tinubu, Baja, APC, Southwest leaders, governors oppose secession, back southern governors on open grazing, want true federalism. You find details of that story on page 2 of the paper. And then we have this: NDLEA intercepts 8 billion naira worth of cocaine, arrests culprit at Lagos airport. Page 26 has details of that.
The Punch newspaper is reporting Chief of Army Staff 10 others death. Air Force to decide on military jets after probe. We won't rush to take decisions that will hamper our operations. That's the Nigerian Air Force. And Air Force plane crashes claim 33 officers, 11 aircraft in 6 years.
Anxiety as Nigerians await a new Chief of Army Staff. That's the Borders headline on the front page of the Daily Asset. It's a front page story and continues on page 2 of the paper. And of course, we have 30 million naira mosque project investigate Agric Ministry, AFAN. Okay, you find details of that also from the front page running into page 2 of the paper.
The Nation is reporting Southwest APC leaders reject secession agitation. Tinubu, Akonde, Akinrinade, Gbajabia Miloshoba, governors okay ban and open grazing. Of course, also see the picture of the governors there, and of course the statement from the southwest of the country. All the decisions that they took right there on the front page of the paper. It continues on page 6.
The Daily Trust, Tinubu governors, other Southwest leaders reject secession. Only 60,000 pilgrims will perform 2021 Hajj. And the bold one, 4 policemen, 44 others killed in gunmen attacks. Police stations attacked in Ebonyi, Zamfara again. 3 kidnappers lynched in Adamawa. That's riders to that story. Page 5 has details.
All right, News Direct. Nigeria's economy grows by 0.51% in Q1 amid 1.72 million barrels per day oil production. Analysts express shock over non-oil sector weak contribution to the revenue. On page 2 is where you read details of that story.
Well, let's check out this Nigeria. Open grazing, motor spare part. Malami seriously missed the point. That's credited to Ozekome. You find details of that on page 8, and of course the bold picture of the late Chief of Army Staff there, the final salute, General Atahilu's unfulfilled dream, pathetic there on the front page of this Nigeria.
The Daily Times newspaper, again, Nigeria exit recession. What impact will that have on everyday people and everyday living? Well, the story is actually on page 2 of the paper. NECO 6.5 billion naira contract. Senate questions NECA over failure to follow due process.
All right, Nigerian pilot is reporting boldly 8 billion naira cocaine haul. NDLEA records major breakthrough, intercepts 8 billion naira worth of cocaine at Lagos Airport, says 36 blocks of substance weighing 27.95 kilograms were involved. Page 8 has details of that, and of course we have youth corps members there, on the front page, the picture story there, and then you have other stories. Under Governor distances itself from Yoruba Nation secessionists. It does appear that everyone is distancing itself from secessionists, saying one Nigeria is still the best.
The People's Daily is reporting why governors won't dump PDP for APC. Ishaku speaking there. It is also reporting Bakara blames Nigerian youths for bad governance.
Okay, let's look at the Authority newspaper now. Apathy in Southeast as search for new Chief of Army Staff heads up, asking Buhari to appoint from zone. Waste of time. That's credited to Huriwa, and then no need for expectations. So Haneze, okay, you have that as the boldest story on the front page of the Authority newspaper, and then you have which other story there? Okay, let's look at this.
All right, so let's look at the New Telegraph newspaper now. COVID-19 banks issue new conditions of service to staff, step up cost-cutting measures. But leading the paper actually is Akara Dulufayami, absent as Southwest APC leaders demand true federalism, and anxiety over appointment of new Chief of Army Staff, consultations delaying announcements, and presidency zero search on 5 teeth arms, the GOCs.
Okay, Business AM, hold rates, analysts unwavering amid disinflation as MPC meets. Expect MPC to hold all parameters, MCT to thread delicate path of pro-growth policies. Of course, Business AM is leading with that business story there, and then a host of other stories making the front page of the paper.
Yeah, all right. Chris Nwadu is here with us on our Zoom platform. Lemmy Ughegbe is here with us in the studio. Lemmy, we'll start with you this time. Let's take some reflections from Friday night, the tragedy that occurred. It's called the national tragedy. The government has announced that the flags across buildings should be at half-staff this Monday. You were one person that had faith in the Chief of Army Staff that he would be able to make a difference after he was appointed January 26th by the President. And now, tragically, we've lost him. Your reactions to that quickly.
Okay, it's taken me a while to find my voice on this. I think it's beyond a national tragedy. If anything, it's no less than a sub-regional tragedy, because the battle against the insurgency has to be won around at least the sub-region. When the service chief, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Atairu was appointed, I shared my thoughts on it, especially going by the fact that when the appointment came, lots of Nigerians, because of course of their perception that the current president seemed to favor the North more in his appointments, criticism trailed it. But somehow, the moment the Chief of Army Staff, late Chief of Army Staff, unfortunately, opened his mouth to have his first conversation, I was inspired. I had this vibe about him that showed me that, above all, the gentleman was concerned about how Nigerians, the average Nigerian feels. He was concerned about the country, and because of that, you could see through that patriotism from the choice of words. He was well measured in his language and emotion, and he demonstrated it because he went into various areas talking with his officers, his personnel, and you would see that he inspired a lot of them to rethink their commitment to nationhood. And it's regrettable that a gentleman like that, a fine bred officer, a patriot, a guy who was already making some milestones despite the decades of rot in the military, At some point, I said the military had gotten too involved in politics and had become so unprofessional that they'll keep churning out news, talking more than they were acting. But this gentleman was fearless, was dogged, and even when he appeared at the National Assembly, when they were trying to draw him into some of those their polemics, the gentleman would not have any of that, and it was such that he could speak his mind very fearlessly. You know, unfortunately, he's gone now, and the saddest part of it was that those who really mourned and are still mourning the death of Lieutenant General Ibrahim Tairu are actually the Nigerian people, the masses. To think that none among the top 5-6 leaders of the country, the president did not find any need to be there at his burial and the burial of his colleagues. The vice president didn't. The Senate president, the deputy, none of them.
At least the Senate president was actually at the mosque where the
yes, he was at the mosque, so you could give him a bit of slack on that. You could cut him some slack. But to think that the commander-in-chief, and it worries me because at a time when the nation is bleeding, when the nation is in deep sorrow, the president did not take it as an opportunity to rally the troop and rally Nigerians. We were united in our grief. The masses, I mean, not the big men who chose at that time, most of them, to go and celebrate a wedding ceremony with Malami's daughter. For God's sake, the fact that our leaders...
There was no appreciation of the mood of the nation at the time.
At all.
Events happened simultaneously.
They lack empathy, they lack love, they lack charity. And it is sad, but I am glad that Nigerians did not think about tribe and tongue. Nigerians did not, and when I say Nigerians, the masses, they did not think about religion, they did not think about anything. They were united in their grief that we have lost a fine gentleman who initially did not get the support. I had criticism when he was appointed. But in a very short while, he rallied Nigerians together and he won trust.
And boosted confidence.
The commander-in-chief, instead of today declaring holiday for the Nigerian army, for the military, I have never seen anywhere in the world, even in peacetime, that you declare holidays. So our president, I don't know, with those who are behind him, those who are supporting and advising him, they are detached from reality and they do not even weigh the consequence of an action. If the military goes on break for 1 hour, do you know the mayhem that will happen? It is such an ill-advised decision to give them a holiday. Soldiers don't even want holidays. They want the right tools, the right weapons. To think that military aircrafts, despite the billions of dollars spent in the last 6 years on military hardwares, on equipment, that we will lose so many personnel to military air crashes. And I hope that they can be honest about this investigation and open it up. Let's see. But remember, this is not the first time the president and leaders, key leaders, will not honor the memory of the dead. In November 7, 2016, soldiers, Lieutenant Colonel and his troop were ambushed in the northeast. Their corpse was brought back to Abuja, and neither our president nor any of the senior people, not even the vice president, were in attendance for that burial. It's a shame on the leadership of this country that they are insensitive, lack empathy, and do not know how to seize the moment to rally the national consciousness and unity.
You know what worries me more, Lemmy, is what impact this will have on the officers who are still on the battlefield fighting. If a military chief can just die in a crash, and from what you're saying, people felt no empathy, those who are leading the country. What does it say to those who are still on the battlefield? Oh, maybe if someone at this level is not given that due recognition, who am I then? Will it not affect their morale in the fight against?
Absolutely. Has it not affected? I'm not in the battlefront, but it has affected my morale as a Nigerian citizen. It definitely is a morale dampener. And to think that the nation, the leadership, will not understand the import of a death like this of the Chief of Army Staff and his lieutenants. To think that the nation, the leader, the president, commander-in-chief, former general will not seize the moment to re-inspire the military and renew their confidence in the nationhood of Nigeria. It's saddening, but I want to urge them that it's just for a while. It's just for a while. The tenure of this government will end in the next 2 years, and we pray that we can all rally together, doing the right thing, passing the Electoral Act, so that we can have an Electoral Act that says you do not need to be the son of one of the noble rich. All you need to do is to have humanity in you, to love Nigerians, and to have capacity, irrespective of tribe and tongue, so we can vote and our votes will count and we can bring the right people to bear. It's a shame on the National Assembly leadership. It's a shame on the leadership of the executive. It's a shame on the commander-in-chief.
All right,
for failing to show empathy and rally Nigerians together at a time of national grief.
Let's bring in Chris here. Chris is joining us via Zoom. Chris, I don't know how surprised you are. You share the sentiments that Lemmy shares. I mean, for a lot of people, it's not totally surprising that the president wasn't there. After all, his chief of staff, the person who was closest to him for the past 5 years since he came in 2015, died in 2020. The president did not attend his burial. Is it totally surprising that he was absent at the burial of the chief of staff? Chief of Army Staff, beg your pardon.
Well, first and most, my condolences goes to the family of those that we lost on Friday and to Nigeria. It's a sad situation. My idea has practically said when it comes to the attendance of the president or the officials of the federal government. I don't want to delve into that politics. He has practically said it. But rather, I will concern myself with the person of Atahiru Ibrahim, or Ibrahim Atahiru as he was. So I will relate his death to similar thing that happened when General Murtala Mohammed killed. He was short-lived, but his memory and the things he did within months or thereabout lingered for that short period. That's the way I want at Atahiru as well. Yes, this was a man who came prepared for the job. Don't forget that he was the theater commander of Lafia Dole, and with that in the past, practically knew where the shoe pitches and to start hitting the ground running. Coincidentally, though allegedly, you can also see that within the short period of his ascendancy of the army, the called Shekau, that we saw several lives, was allegedly killed, or that has not been confirmed by the military. That also goes along to show that it was a mandate business. A lot must have gone into that. From what I read, even his intelligence chiefs were involved in that, in the death Shekau, though not confirmed. Also, thirdly, don't forget, under him, the military first time was not quick in announcing the death of Shekau. In the past, when we used to see military quickly jump out and say he has been killed, yet we killed him in battle and rest of them. This is a man that is time to be trying to reform the army, make sure that they focus more on their comrades and being alert of tribals and rest of them. Be that as may, my major concern is the number of crashes we had. I will tell you from me and from my investigation that between 2015 and now, we have had 11 air crashes, electric crashes. If you are not aware, I'm telling you for free. We've had 11, 6 years. We had 3 within the past 1 year. We've had 2 within the past 3 months. That speaks volume. And within this period, we have 33 senior military officers as well. That should be a sub-concern for us. Even during the desert war in Iraq, I don't think the military, the American military, whichever one, lost 11 aircraft within just a period. Even during the fight against ISIS and insurgency in Afghanistan, I don't think the military lost that kind of aircraft. That should be a source of concern. By now, in senior class, all aircraft belonging to the Air Force have been grounded, so that we can have a holistic investigation and look at where the problem is. When you remember what happened a few months back, when an Airbus crashed, say in Europe or thereabout, all Airbuses, most countries grounded Airbus, so that there will be a holistic investigation. Even the investigation that we've had in the past of some of the crashed airlines, the crashed military jets, we've not had any public announcement of the outcome of that of those investigations. So I think something is just wrong here. Is either what we have is not working fine, or could it be human error, or is it the aircraft that we have, due to whatever thing, cannot be able to stand? So I think for now, I read this statement by the spokesperson of the Nigerian Air Force a few hours ago. He said that after investigation, they can know what to do with the aircraft. Don't wait until after investigation. First thing you do is to make sure you grant those and have a list. Probably call us from outside the country to look at. People cannot. Our planes cannot be dropping from the sky like a kite, and then we are just moving as if nothing happened. That to me is the worst part. So don't forget, we are still have accounted for a jet allegedly missing a few months ago. 2 Air Force pilots have not been accounted for now. Although Boko Haram came out with some video clips, but the military quickly denounced that. But till now, we don't know. So my take is that I think our military should, especially the Nigerian Force, should sit down and have a look at their feet and see if there are some level. I don't want to go into some of the talk about people on. I don't believe that. I believe that there's something. If we could this yes, then that cost. Don't know how much those are expensive jets. You know how long it takes to get even from some of this Western world. Then for us to lose everyone crashed. That is my take, and that's what is troublesome to me. Whether he to attend or not.
Yeah,
move on.
Yeah, Chris, that brings me to asking what you think about the safety, or what this says about the safety of the aviation sector, or in the aviation sector, because ordinarily one would have believed, or one is meant to believe, that if a military aircraft should fly, particularly the one that will fly the Chief of Army Staff, it should be one of the topmost certified military aircraft. So if a military aircraft that is used to fight the war against terrorism can come down, what does it say generally about aviation safety?
My sister, still I didn't hear you well. There was some kind of distortion when you had that question. I couldn't get the question right, but moving ahead, still have to with the issue. I will still, as I said.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
We need to we need to do this. The fact remains that as it were, the morale of troops is very low. This is when we need the chief, and as colleagues said, this is where command chief should come in place and to boost the morale of our military. For now, and the morale is very low. That crash dead. I listed by that he's the only son of that man, and this man after Delhi, one of them barely after winning. That speaks volumes. So, but for me, let's also realize that when you sign in a military or a soldier, it's part of you sign that anything comes to be fatality, you are ready for it. That is signed for. But for me, I think for now, let leaders be. And a little bit cheap. Let me just be a bit. I saw the line the other way. It some people say, that the South is a bit aloof as to the next chief of army staff. I simply state at my next state that this might be the time for the president to right the wrong and probably look at the Southeast when choosing the next chief of army staff, because the Southeast doesn't seem to be represented in that security architecture as it were now. But if I also look at the South, don't forget, and I say that, don't forget that you have all officers from all parts of the country. Don't let it distributed when you end up taking to end. So with that is one part of the country that have
Chris,
that interference is still there.
I think we get the point you're making is the politics of succession, but thank you so much for being there with us. Just hold on, let's speak with Lemmy as we run off this segment of the program. Lemmy, other top stories that we find on the papers this Monday is what the Southwest governors and the APC leaders are saying. They met in the Southwest at the weekend and they're saying we wouldn't support secession movement. But notable was the absence of the governor of Ondo State at that meeting. Also, remember that there was a Yoruba Nation rally that held in Akure, and Igboho came out to say that Akere is strongly in support of what they're doing. The governor later released a statement saying, "Don't count me as part of it. I only allow the rally because constitutionally everybody has a right to express their opinion. Doesn't necessarily mean I support the cause." He remains committed to the Nigerian project. Quick reaction to that as we sign off.
Okay, definitely the southern governors have made it clear that they are actually not talking of seceding. Their intention is to call the nation to a round table to discuss our common existence. Like I always say, it's a fallacy to say the unity of Nigeria is not negotiable. It is negotiable, and we must come to the table to discuss this. Igbo and his group are also within their rights to have this. Remember, the Southern Governors meeting was ordinarily not taken as a secessionist meeting until Abdullahi Adamu and his cohorts started describing it as such. So every opportunity to invite the nation to come together to discuss our common patrimony is seen by especially the elites from the north as being secessionist. I think that we must beat it down. Unfortunately, we have an Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice who himself is not helping matters, because he also demonstrates such shallowness, as in its understanding is something that is suspect. The same Attorney General, while we are talking about discussing our unity and agreeing to disagree or agreeing to agree that we want to stay together, is comparing banning open grazing to banning spare parts dealership by the Easterners in the North. You know, it just tells you why we are in this amount of trouble. Because if the chief law officer of our country cannot articulate the position of a people properly to understand and bring an analogy that is incongruous as he has done, then we are in for a very deep problem. But the unity of Nigeria is negotiable, and until we come to the table to decide whether or not the North wants to be with the South and the South wants to be with the North under an equitable and fair level playing ground, then we will still be groping in the dark, because Nigeria has never been as divided as it is now. And the only way we can come together and reunite us is if we meet, discuss, and repledge our loyalty to a common cause.
All right, thank you so much, Lemmy, for making time to discuss these issues with us. Unfortunately, we're not able to go back to Chris to round off his discussion for want of time. Thank you, Chris, for also sharing your thoughts with us on the newspaper review this morning.
Thank you very much. Do have a nice day.
Have a nice day too. Thank you, Lemmy.
Thank you.
All right, do stay with us. We shall be talking more about the Air Force tragedy that happened on Friday, and of course Safety in the Air Force. What's really happening? Why are planes, Air Force jets falling off the skies? The tragedy has been one too many. Well, joining us in a moment is a retired Air Commodore Balogun. He's already here with us in the studio. We shall be taking off and getting his in-depth perspective on how things work and how things should actually work better.